Hello, you beautiful people, and welcome to another Grotmas Detachment. And this time it's the one I personally have been waiting for most. It's the Grey Knight one. Is it any good? Is it possible to have a detachment that's better than one that includes things such as Sigil of Exigence and Mr. Deimos? Surely not, right? So here we go, guys. Warpbane Task Force. Now, this was always going to be a really interesting detachment. Um, Grey Knights get by because they've got some incredible movement rules in terms of picking up 3 units. They got lots of jank to try and survive in terms of sigil and miss and that sort of thing. But their killing output wasn't that great. And I know I always felt that the reason their killing output wasn't that great, especially with shooting, was because of their army rule and some of the stratagems, and it felt that might be quite overpowered. So going into this detachment, we're thinking, well, it's probably not going to be anything to buff Dread Knights, because we know Dread Knights are obviously really strong as it is, so it's not going to be a vehicle buffing one. So it's probably going to go down the power armor route, and it'll be interesting to see how they go. And what they've decided is by taking away all the tricks and that sort of thing, they've decided to see how Grey Knights operate if they can just re-roll all of their hits. It's a bold move, I think would be fair to say. I think quite a lot of armies would, if they were told, you need to fulfill 1 or 2 things and your whole army will re-roll 4 hits in shooting and combat most of the time, I think most armies would probably take that. So it's almost, are the Grey Knight data sheets weak enough to mean that this detachment isn't incredibly broken? I guess is one way of thinking of it. So yeah, as kind of mentioned, the detachment rule, right? So basically, as you can see here, your whole army, whenever it makes an attack, so that's shooting and combat, gets to reroll ones to hit. If it's a purifier unit, you get to reroll all your hits. That's amazing. Or if you're within the hallowed ground. The hallowed ground is a classic GW mechanic, which is basically saying your deployment zone is always hallowed ground, and then if you control at least half the objective markers in no man's land, so that'll be 2 out of the 3. That's quite a common map layout. Or that becomes hallowed ground, and if you control your opponent's one, then their deployment zone is one. That creates a hallowed ground. There's this interesting extra dynamic though with purifiers. So purifiers, if you're within 6 inches of a purifier unit, you're also counting as being within hallowed ground there. So obviously they're saying, right, please take purifiers. The initial read through here is you go, right, well, what wants to re-roll hits? Well, I don't know if you remember a few months ago when there was a time where everyone decided, as soon as Dread Knights got ignore cover and an extra pip of AP, that they were going to take 6 of them. And the issue with that army was their consistency, right? And we see that. I mean, I've been running 3 Dread Knights a lot, and we see that in terms of take 3 Dread Knights and you fire 2 into a target, and sometimes you'll one-shot it and sometimes you'll barely scratch the surface. They're just incredibly inconsistent with 6 heavy side cannon shots hitting on 3s. Well, what if we take away that inconsistency? What if we just have 6 Dread Knights hitting all the time? That feels good, guys. And so in an interesting turn of events, even though, as we'll see, a lot of this stuff is trying to push infantry, especially purifiers, you probably, there's definitely builds where you're going to be seeing 5 or 6, but we'll get back onto that. So yeah, as a rule, as a detachment rule, that's really nice. It's definitely better than advance 6 inches and get fly. Obviously, you're going to have to be thinking about making sure your list building and play enables you to trigger this to get those full rerolls. So that's just going to be bear in mind. So if we look at the enhancement, so 20 points to give 3 OC to the bearer's objective control characteristic. This would make a Grandmaster OC7, which is all right, isn't it? It's not bad for 20 points. If you've got spare 20 points, then cool, but I'm probably not going to see it that often, but it is a bit irritating for people. Radiant Champion. Now, this is an interesting one. So it gives you precision, and if you're wholly within your army's hallowed ground, so again, we're obviously going to be aiming to do that. Whenever you score a wound with a melee attack, so that means you've successfully hit and you've successfully wounded. So it doesn't have to go through; you just have to successfully wound. They're going to suffer one mortal wound in addition to any normal damage. Initial front runner for this is the character with the most attacks, which hilariously is the mighty Tech Marine. And the Tech Marine actually does have some pretty decent weapons. The Tech Marine is only 70 points or something, 75 points, can't remember which one. He's got 8 attacks. So 8 attacks, hitting on 2s, is it? 3s, I can't remember what. Rerolling everything, that's going to be 7 or 8 hits. And then you're quite often into infantry, you're going to be wounding on 2s or 3s with the stuff. So yeah, it's probably quite a consistent, somewhere between 5 and 8 wounds, or mortal wounds you're doing on the Tech Marine, on top of his normal damage. So he can absolutely chew through some things for not that much of a cost. So definitely see that getting a bit of play. Stealth, basically Voldus, right? 25 points though. Who are you putting on the unit? You don't really want that many characters because they're not adding much to your army, I don't think, in this detachment. So I don't think this is going to be particularly common, to be honest with you. And then finally, 10 points. If you've got 10 points, you're putting this on something if you can. Once per battle, you can, at the start of any phase, you can just say, this unit, which is within 18, and I can see it, they're going to count as hallowed ground, which is just basically saying, oh, that unit's not getting full hit rolls. Well, let's give it full hit rolls. So that's quite nice. For 10 points as well, you can definitely see this being slotted into a lot of lists. So the mighty stratagems. Let's remember, guys, we're trying to find things which really are going to be playing into our hit rerolls, playing into infantry and potentially dread knights, or survivability. Is there something here that's as good as Mr. Deimos, armor contempt, 3-inch deep strike, all that sort of thing? So this first one, sanctified kill zone. Basically, shooting phase or fight phase. It's a unit, so it can be a vehicle. And you've got to be wholly within your army's hallowed ground. So it's just careful to note that. So, like, let's say you've got your purifiers down, you have to be wholly within 6 inches of that unit. You can't just toe 6 inches. Okay, so if you're dropping down 5 purifiers and then you're putting 3 dread knights around them, you have to be careful with your positioning to try and get those hit rolls. Basically, you're going to reroll ones to wound. So that's okay, isn't it? Take reroll ones to wound. But if you're a purifier unit, you're fully rerolling your wounds. So that basically is purifiers, 10 purifiers, rerolling all hits and all wounds, potentially in the shooting and the fight phase. It's probably going to kill 2 of the enemy units, isn't it? I would imagine. That's pretty nice. I imagine you'll be using this quite a lot. Flames of Sanctity, purifier unit. So you use at the end of the fight phase, each enemy unit within 6 inches. If you've got Crow there, it's on a 3-up, otherwise it's a 4-up. The enemy suffers D3 mortal wounds. I mean, if you manage to get a big brick of Crow's unit into the heart of the enemy, and then you spend 1 CP and you can hit 4 or 5 units, and maybe 3 of them take 2 mortal wounds. I guess there's some play there. It's not amazing. It's okay, I would say. Hallowed Beacon. So they're very clever here, or very sensible here. They've got this. It doesn't have 3-inch deep strike. It's got a 6-inch deep strike, but it has to be in hallowed ground. So that's the initial thing. and it's 6 inches away. It's infantry only, not Terminators. And you'll notice here it does not say you cannot charge. So it means you can have a 6-inch charge in the army. So at first glance, it's sad that it's not Terminator units, because obviously that would be lovely. We'd all be about that life. The way you're going to be doing this probably is because remember how Hallowed Ground works? It's kind of at the start of the phase. So you can't move on to things, trigger Hallowed Ground, and then use this stratagem. It doesn't suddenly turn No Man's Land into Hallowed Ground. That would only happen in your shooting phase. So what it's going to involve is bringing down or having purifiers in the right place, and then bring a unit within 6 inches of purifiers. So that's the way you're going to play around it. Very powerful stratagem. You're going to see this one used a lot for big scary bricks, and maybe not even that. I can see it being hammered just all the time, just to be like, oh, I want my 5 strikes who are re-rolling everything, all their hits, because we know 5 strikes is 15 attacks. Normally it's only 10 hits, 7 wounds. You have to be just the right side of average to kill a 5-man 5-man marine unit. Now 15 hits is suddenly becoming like, or 15 attacks is becoming like 12, 13 hits. It gives you those extra 2 or 3 through. It gives you a bit more reliability and consistency. Fires of Covenant. So infantry unit. This again is an interesting one. Basically, you're going to have your unit there. Someone moves, or you've got in a position, and at the start of your opponent's movement phase, you say, if you're going to move within 6 of me, I'm going to do some mortal wounds to you. Maybe, because it's on a 4-up or a 2-up if you're in Hallowed Ground. Again, incredibly situational. Depends on your playing. You're not going to play for it, I don't think. It's just going to be something that you'll suddenly be like, oh, this is a thing. Oh, I've got some enemies around me who probably want to come close, and no, they haven't got many wounds left. Maybe. 4-up invuln on your infantry. Yes, it's definitely infantry, because immediately I was like, Storm Ravens? But no, it is infantry only, and it's a 4-up invuln, and it's only in the shooting phase. Now, if you think we're on a 2-up save, we've lost Armor of Contempt, you're on a 2-up save, you're in cover, it's got to take AP3 to get you onto that, to get you onto a 4-up. Anyway. So, because you're on a 2-up save, you're in cover, you're on a 1-up, AP3 puts you on a 4-up. So, do you really need it? I think it's going to be very common, especially it would be more likely to be used in the fight phase. But the shooting phase is it's not really the one. So, yeah, I'm not sure how often you'll see this going. And then finally, now this is a fun one. -1 to your charge if you're charging me, or -2 if you're in Hallowed Ground. Now that's quite nice. That is quite nice. I can see lots of situations where you're hammering that button. That might just be a new Mr. Damos. Oh, you're going for a 7-8 inch charge? I don't think so. So I really like the look of this one. I imagine people will be using this a lot. So that's the kind of the idea. Now, if we're trying to assess his power level, the community reaction has been really interesting. It's been very much a 3-way split of this is ridiculously good, this is a waste of time bad. Yeah, it's all right. I'm leaning more towards the upper end of it. I think it's got a good ceiling. I think it's potentially, you're having to play the army a different way. You're going for the kill now. You don't have that survivability. Grey Knights don't have many units. You don't have much survivability. You have some, but not a huge amount. You don't have all the tricks anymore. Got to go for the throat. But I mean, I've built 3 lists, and I think all of them can be good. So that's good. I'm excited to try them. I'll read you out my lists because I know you're all gagging for some lists. So, as I said, the obvious thing is Dread Knights. That is the obvious thing. So, if you a 6 Dread Knight list, okay. So I've got Tet Marine, 3 Grandmasters, 1 Strike Squad, 1 Interceptor Squad, 3 normal Dread Knights, 3 units of 5 Purifiers, and a Ministorum Priest. because I had points left over, and that was all I could fit in. I've got the Tech Marine to buffer Dread Knight, although it's not that necessary, but also because I want to give him that Radiant mantle thing, whatever it's called. What is it called? Not Radiant Mantle, surely not. Radiant Champion. And I think that's quite fun for an 85-point unit to just be able to one-shot any character, basically. Pretty much, on average, 5 to 8 mortal wounds. That just one-shots any character that doesn't have mortal wound defense with precision. That's quite funny from a Tech Marine. That'll piss a lot of people off. And then what you could obviously do is drop the Tech Marine, drop the Priest, and get another unit of strikes in or something like that. So yeah, that's kind of where I am with my 6 Dread Knight build. A mixed build. So I have Castellan Crow with 10 Purifiers. I've then got 4 Dread Knights, one of which is a Grandmaster, obviously. Drago with 5 Terminators. 1 unit of strikes, 1 unit of interceptors, and 2 5-man purifier bricks units. I don't think purifiers are great at 125 points on their own ordinarily, but I think adding in the fact that they're giving you full hit rolls on things is suddenly makes them a bit nicer. And heck, if you're playing into any sort of horde matchups, they are going to be worried, I can assure you, because purifier fire does add up. And then finally, I've got an MSU style build. So this is Crow with 10 Purifiers, Drago with 5 Terminators, and then another 3 5-man Terminators, 5 Strikes, 2 Interceptors, and 2 Purifier Squads, and a Calidus Assassin. MSU, lots of stuff. I've got 1 big 10-man for real smashing, but all of those 5-mans, you hit the button and they're re-rolling. Even 3's re-rolling 1s, but 3's re-rolling everything just gets through a lot more damage, and that is a sort of army that could have one hell of a go turn if it wanted. I would like to give a special shout out on top of this all to Purgation Marines. Rerolling hits from line of sight suddenly is very appealing, and in this MSU build, I absolutely can see a world where I drop one of the Interceptor squads and the Calidus Assassin, or maybe one of the Terminator squads. So I'll do this live. I delete one of the Terminator squads and the Calidus Assassin. That frees up 305 points. I could definitely put in 2 Purgation squads, which is 240. That gives me 65 points spare, which is some generic Imperial Agent thing. Or even if you can get 3 in, that's a lot of shots, guys. So it's 12 side cannon shots out of line of sight, hitting on 4s, re-rolling everything. That's 8 hits. Most things probably that you're aiming for are wounding on 2s, maybe 3s. If you can get them plunging fire up to AP2, so that's something. Or even, and this is probably the meta choice, but I actually quite like silencers all of a sudden. That's it's a lot of shots with sustained with full rerolls. There's a lot of shots. Is it 24 shots? So 6 shots each, strength 5, 1 damage. No AP, obviously. Or you could stick them high up and get plunging fire to negate the cover, but probably not such a thing. I could definitely see that being a win. Just 15 silencers, you auto win any horde matchup. I think with that sort of MSU build. People say we're moving towards more of a tank meta, in which case maybe that isn't the way forward. Probably a call you have to make looking at the event you're playing at. So yeah, those are some ideas for lists for you. I think this is going to be a really interesting detachment to follow. I've heard so many different builds. I'm hearing people going, let's just try 5 Razorbacks. People are wondering how can you play big bricks of Terminators and stuff. all we wanted from this detachment was to give us a new opportunity to try some new things out and play in a different way. And that's exactly what Grey Knights have got. They've got a detachment which now gives them the ability to be more aggressive and try and kill the opponent. Like, how often have we just, well, I know for me anyway, I spend my time running away and hiding and being a pain in the ass. And now all of a sudden I get to go and try and be the killer. I'm like, you step out, mate, you're going to get spanked. So I'm excited for that. And I'll definitely be getting some games in. And I'll definitely be doing more I Am the Hammer videos on that sort of thing as and when I can. I'm a teacher. It's coming up to the Christmas holiday. Surely, even with a new baby, I'll find some time to do some more content and play some more games. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what lists you're thinking of. Come join our Discord community. Well over 500 people in there now. Lots of Grey Knight chat as well. So come share your lists and your thoughts and your experiences. At this point, everyone is dying to hear how you get on. Right? Anyone who talks about, I've played a game with the new detachment, immediately that's really interesting for everyone. So get those games in and let us know how it goes. But yeah, thanks a lot for listening and see you next time. Take care.